I went, I didn't know if I was going to take the jacket, rain jacket and rain pants, or the poncho. I read pros and cons for both. So I started out with the rain jacket and pants. So I got the rain jacket. Here it is. And it ended up being the perfect size for, again, our weather went from 30 degrees to 80 degrees in the width of time we were there. So this ended up being a really nice weight for not only when it rained, but also for when it got in the 50s, sometimes in the 60s. But it ended up just being a very lightweight jacket I could wear even as just a jacket versus just for the rain. And I've got pants to go with it. The pants I only pulled out 4 or 5, maybe 6 times. There were a few days, 4 or 5 days, that it was pouring down rain that I had them, since I already had them, and it did keep me totally dry. And then on the real cold mornings, I would put them on as an extra layer. Like if you're doing it in the summer, obviously these would have been way too heavy. But because it rained so heavy on some days, when we got to O Sobrero, we were just so wet, and everybody was. And almost every pilgrim, down to the person that didn't have a poncho, ended up buying one at this little cafe we found. And it's just a rain in a poncho big enough to go over me and my backpack, and it had sleeves, and it was for €6 or about $7. Just a real handy to have it on, because again, we got heavy rain. Again, because the weather was in the 30s some of those days, I had brought a sock hat and gloves. These are the kind that are fingers are open, and then you can make them into mittens. It was windy, and I got the wind chill factor. I was really glad to have these. When it was pouring down rain and cold, I wished I had waterproof. A few people did, not many of us did, because obviously my hands got really wet. If you're in the summer, you wouldn't have to worry about this, but we were there at a time where it got pretty cold. And so I got a North Face, I think it's just a simulated down, but it very collapsed, and I could put it in the bottom of my backpack where the sleeping bag normally would be kept. And because it was light, it was one of those I could wear as an additional layer when it did get down to the 30s, or as a standalone jacket if it was in the 40s. It had a place for a cell phone and, the tissues and things like that. So it came in really handy. Everything we took, we made sure was very collapsible, because we only had a limited backpack size. And these are the waterproof rain pants I brought. Again, I used them when it was extra cold, and I used them in the rain when it was pouring down rain, since I had them. Adriana didn't have any. She had leggings, and her legs just got wetter than mine, but didn't seem to bother her too much. One of the things that I got that was really useful is these organizer bags. The brand I ended up liking best, my daughter had gotten first, and they're Eagle Creek, and they come in different sizes. This contained all my clothes. And then I had another one that was a little bit smaller that would contain my dirty clothes. And then I have this one that contained my shower gear. I brought a pair of leggings that after I was done hiking and took my shower, I put the leggings on, and those are what I slept in as well. I'd wear them out to the restaurant, and then I'd sleep in them. And I brought 2 pairs of long pants, again, quick dry type of pants, and I brought 2 long sleeve shirts, and 1 short sleeve shirt, 3 pairs of undies, 2 sports bras, and I brought 3 pairs of socks. I would have brought more socks if I realized, because our weather was such that some days you didn't have a washer or dryer in the facility, and there was no way in that weather it was going to dry. Because the socks I got, and I bought about 8 pairs of socks before I found this pair, but it's called Wright socks, W-R-I-G-H-T sock, and they're double layer. So they have like a silk liner in it, built into it. But they took a very long time to dry. So even though I had planned to pin them to the outside of my backpack, as some people did to make them dry, because we didn't have sun and we had such rainy weather, that didn't work. So I would have brought with me at least 4 pairs of socks because I like putting clean socks on all the time. But I really like those socks. I did buy silk liners as well. I only had 2 of them and I did wear those. It might have been overkill, but it worked for me. In the smaller one was my showers, supplies. And I had the toothpaste, toothbrush, soap, my comb, a nail file. That's pretty much, and a little washcloth. And then everything was handy dandy in that little packet. So again, I kept this one for my dirty clothes. There were a lot of days we couldn't do laundry, so because we knew it wouldn't dry if there wasn't a dryer available. So we just took from the dirty clothes and put them back on. A money belt to carry my American passport and my credit card and some cash. I wore it around my waist, under my clothes. If I'm walking, I had it in my backpack close to me. At night, I usually had it under my pillow. You know, it allowed me to go out at night. If we were going out, I could just put it under my jacket and didn't need a purse or anything, so I didn't worry about packing a purse. We did take sleeping bags, even though we had no intention of sleeping outside. Many of the albergues didn't have sheets. Many of them didn't have blankets, that kind of thing. Some of them you could rent a blanket. Sometimes they gave you the blanket, but either way, your sleeping bag kind of served as your sheets. We didn't get a heavy one. We found one, I think, for $35 or so on Amazon. Now, I didn't use the compressible bag because before we left, I realized it was very hard to get in there and compress it and all of that. So this was another one of the containers that you could buy on Amazon to organize your stuff. And I just fold up and put it in there. And in this, I kept my sleeping bag, I kept my sleeping bag liner, and I brought a little blow-up pillow that I didn't like any of the pillows there. So I did bring my own little pillow, and again, you saw how it fit in that bag. I ended up using this bag liner, sleeping bag liner a lot. I cut it because it was a sack, and I cut it so it was more of a blanket. I used this as my pillowcase, and then it would be around my neck, like if I got there and I was reading a book or something before bedtime or something, or the lights in some of them stayed on till 10 o'clock at night, so I'd kind of flip one side over my eyes. But both these items were already treated with permethrin when I bought them, and then we bought a few cans of spray permethrin that I think we got at Amazon or REI, and we sprayed our backpack, we sprayed our sleeping bag, and some of our items, and we weren't bothered by the bed bugs at all. However, as we went on, we found many of the other pilgrims were bothered by bed bugs. Some, I think, just had more of an allergic reaction to them, perhaps, than others, but I'd recommend go ahead and spray. I didn't see them, but we sprayed everything, and that seemed to work because we never had any problems at all, neither Adriana nor I. Oh, and the one other thing we did is we did ship our backpacks on 3 occasions in the 42 days. At the end of the trip, it cost €3, so about $4, to have them take our bag to the next location. And when I hurt my ankle, that seemed like a good idea at the time. So what we did was we brought day packs with us. If you saw, they pack into itself. I don't like the one I got. This is the one I got, but the one Adriana got was called Hike Pro, I think HIKPRO, and hers had 2 pockets for water. I didn't realize when I bought this until I got over there, this didn't have any pockets for water. So that was a big mistake in my mind. So she had to carry my water for me. I put it in here, but then you had to worry about it tilting or, getting on anything. So I think that was just poor planning on their part or poor design. So I would definitely make sure if you do take one, and it was handy because then we didn't have to carry a big backpack, but we could carry some fruit in here, some things we might need, so suntan lotion, our maps, our books, and then again, if you had the pockets, you could carry a couple things of water. So I would definitely do that. I'd buy that again. Again, I'll type this up, and if you go to celestemesser.com, that's CelesteMesser, Then go to blogs, find the Camino de Santiago blogs, and I'll have a list that has packing lists, so you can look at the tag for packing list. I think that's everything. So if you go to the Camino, ours took 42 days. You can find that in my blog as well. I wish I allowed more time because 500 miles in reality is much harder than 500 miles on paper, and I wouldn't have felt so rushed. But it was an experience of a lifetime, and buen camino.